Hi there. Welcome to Commission Friends, where I talk to people we all know about. We could probably get to know a little better. Today's episode, I got Greg. How you doing?
Hey Eric, I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to this.
Thanks for coming on. So, just to get started, let's go back to the beginning. Where'd you grow up? What was your family like? And did you play any sports growing up?
All right, yeah. So I was born in Seattle, Washington, and that has, as I'm sure everyone knows, influenced me to a great degree. I grew up a Mariners fan, but I moved to the Boston area when I was right before my sixth birthday. So I more or less grew up in Boston. Let me tell you, it is a very lonely thing to sit through four championship seasons rooting for a team that's doing terribly on the other side of the country. Uh, it's a small miracle I've stayed a Mariners fan, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so I grew up like my parents tried to get me to play a lot of sports, and I was okay at most of them. My mom played basketball in college at Michigan, actually, so
Oh, nice.
it was really fun. Um, I mean, that fact is fun. I was terrible at basketball, could not make a shot to save my life, and I still can't. But yeah, I also played baseball, but just in Little League, nothing too competitive, as well as like some soccer when I was in kindergarten. That's really about it, though. Wanted to play football, but I just didn't end up playing football.
Yeah, it's surprising to hear your mom play college basketball, considering how much you say you don't like basketball in the chat.
I, I think to some extent my relationship with basketball today is influenced by the fact that I sucked at it. Like, imagine the worst basketball player you've ever played a game with.
Yeah.
That's more or less me. I'm not pulling any punches. I was like the one guy everyone would always challenge to a game of horse to make themselves feel better.
All right. So you didn't play fantasy until like recently when you joined the football league at first, right?
Yeah, that's right. That was my first ever fantasy league.
Yeah, so how do you like playing it? Because you're in right now you're in football and hockey and that's it, right?
Yeah, I'm in football and hockey. I took for a long time, I was super anti-fantasy just because I was like with the mindset that, I'm going to root for one team and it's easier to root for like to sit down and be a Patriots fan than sit down and be a Patriots fan and say, I'm going to root for the Pats, but I don't want Gronkowski to score any touchdowns because I'm going up against him. And I also want, whoever the Pats are playing to do really well because I've got, I don't know, Corey Davis on my team as well as the Jets defense. And so, I want the Pats to do well, but I want the other guys to win or to do well as well. I figured it was just simpler to root for one sport. And then you convinced me to do Dynasty football by teaming me up with Andrew. So it was a good time. It was a learning experience, but I had fun with it. Hopefully, we'll do better than we did last year.
Yeah.
um, Most of which is my fault. But yeah, and then Andrew cornered me and was like, "Join the hockey league," and I'm like, "Okay, that's." I'm not really a fan of a hockey team yet because my Kraken don't start up for another year. So this will be a good way to actually introduce me to the NHL and see what's going on.
Yeah. So do you like both of them so far? Do you think you're gonna stick with it?
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a blast in the hockey league. This is my first time ever doing any fantasy sports on my own. Um,
Mhm.
and it's cool. It's very interesting. I walked into that league with zero knowledge of the NHL practically. Like I barely knew who Connor McDavid was. And now I'm explaining who Connor McDavid is to my parents. So it's a fun turnaround. I'm definitely in that one for the long haul.
Yeah. So would you say that's your favorite so far?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you know me. I like active leagues. I'd love to see the Dynasty Football channel and league pick up a little more to the point where it's on the level of maybe hockey or baseball, which probably a taller ask given that we are a baseball club first and foremost. But I mean, you know, as long as I can hang out and talk shit with my friends, I'm having a good time.
Yeah. It's so tough with football being the, once a week thing, except like
Yeah.
Thursdays and some Saturdays. But yeah, maybe hopefully we could pick it up a little more. We'll see. But
Yeah.
yeah, so next, the two-part question. First part, how did you get to U of M? And then second, how did you get to be an M-SABR?
All right. Yeah. So as I mentioned, my mom played basketball here. So like I grew up a Michigan football fan, actually. Like my first memory before I like got into the Patriots or the NFL, I'd come downstairs, see my mom watching Michigan play Ohio State, be like, "Who are we rooting for?" And she'd turn and glare at me for even asking that question. Um, but yeah, so like she'd get invited back to go to alumni events and she'd always bring me along. So applying to colleges, Michigan was one of my top choices just for the culture I had sort of been introduced to from when I was very young. And then actually, after I got into Michigan, I followed the Michigan baseball Twitter account and because you know I was like I like Michigan, I like baseball, that makes sense. And then I see that a couple weeks after I do that, not the Michigan baseball Twitter account follows me, the M-SABR Twitter account follows me. And like my Twitter account to this day has like 2 dozen followers. I am nobody on Twitter. I was talking to Cam about this and he was like, yeah, they must have followed, like your predecessor on the account must have followed you because you followed Michigan baseball and was trying to get a lot of follows back.
Oh yeah, I remember that guy.
Yeah, so it worked
Just follow
out.
me too.
I followed the M-SABR Twitter account for a long time without actually going to their meetings. Like I remember Max Brill's Edgar Martinez deserves to be in the Hall of Fame article. I tossed that article like I was still like I had no idea who any of these people were. I was just like, cool, Michigan has a Saber chapter. And then, kind of like Sahil, I saw a flyer hanging up my freshman year, and I was like, "Oh, sweet! Those are the guys that follow me on Twitter. I should drop by and say hi." A couple weeks later, I was writing the Mariners season preview article, and I've stuck with it ever since.
Nice. All right. So, what is your favorite hobby outside of fantasy and sports?
That is a good question. I'm very into movies, or should I say cinema. I'm a big film guy. To a lesser extent, I'm pretty big into music. I used to play when I was younger. Nowadays, I mostly just like listen, talk about my favorite 90s bands, add
Play
more
guitar
vinyls to my
or
collection. Sorry, what were you saying?
play what guitar or?
Bass guitar, not cool enough for guitar, but you know, I like the rhythm section a lot more. It was a fun time in high school to like sit down and just jam out to some bass heavy songs.
Nice. Yeah. So, as a good transition to my next one, it's usually, um, what are you watching and listening to right now? I know watching is kind of like TV show based instead of movie based, but
Yeah.
you
I
watch
mean,
like
well, hey, I got a lot of time on my hands now. I finally started The Mandalorian, which is fantastic. Um, really, really good show. In terms of other shows, I picked up Letterkenny, which is it's a Canadian TV show. It's on Hulu. It's very funny. It's just like each episode is basically 20 minutes of people shit talking one another, and it is glorious. Highly would recommend it to anyone who likes that. And then listening to, um, let's see, right now I've been in a big like Nine Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine kick. Those guys just announced a lot of tour dates, and like I love Rage Against the Machine. I feel like they do stuff musically that no one else does. So I'm definitely going to try and follow them wherever they're touring.
nice. And you listen to any podcasts?
Actually, no. Um, I don't know why. It's just that's never something I really caught on to. I've, you know, tuned into a couple episodes of podcasts here and there. Um, there were a couple by the can't remember what their name is, but there was like a YouTube comedy group that would occasionally post like hour-long podcast style videos. And I'd listen to those every now and again, but like yeah, I don't know. It's something about the medium that doesn't really lend itself well to me. Not really sure. Maybe it's because I do stuff when listening to music so often,
Yeah.
and then when it's people talking, I want to focus on them, but since I'm just listening, I also want to do other stuff. It's very weird.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah. But I've listened to these podcasts, not so much the pitcher or the hitter, just because I'm not really in that league, but I'll pay attention when non-league things get discussed, and of course this podcast.
Yeah, maybe the new hockey one if they drop a new
Yeah,
one.
well, if they drop, I'm one of the they.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Andrew's recruiting me to co-host. We're brainstorming our first episode right now. We've got a title down that I won't say it, but if you've been paying attention, I think you already have an idea what it's called.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah, so that should be out in the coming weeks.
Nice. So you were a poli sci major, right?
Yes, political science major, history minor.
Nice. So what is the plan? And you just graduated, right?
Yeah, I just graduated a month
Nice.
ago.
Yeah, same. So what is the plan after
What
college?
is the plan? It's a good question. There was a place I interned at a couple years ago before all this crap set in that I really enjoyed my time at, and I might just crawl back to them hands and knees, asking them to pick me up full time.
Mhm.
I might ideally it would be cool to go down to Washington and like work for a senator for a year or two. Senator, rep, someone on not Capitol Hill, but someone in the Capitol might do the same for more local Massachusetts politics.
Cool. So
Um,
like campaign stuff or other kind of stuff?
yeah, campaign stuff or just be a staffer. Like I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up watching The West Wing, but there's something that would be kind of fun about being a staffer to those sorts of people. Who knows? Maybe in practice it isn't as fun as they made it out to be on that show, but
Yeah. So I don't really know much about like that kind of stuff. What does a staffer do for a
so
politician?
yeah, I mean, staffer for a politician, it's like, I mean, I'd be pretty low level, so I wouldn't be like all the people you'd see on the West Wing, but it would be like I did a lot of policy research, for example.
Yeah.
So that would be like, here's an example from when I worked. This wasn't for anyone in public office, but someone would say, all right, so there's a new pipeline that's going from Maine to somewhere down south. I want you guys from, yeah. So I want you to look at what people are saying about it in each of the states that it passes through. I want you to see what the governors are saying about it. I want you to see what like people in the state legislature, state legislative offices are saying about it. Look at like the opposition groups because this is a pipeline we don't really want to happen. So like maybe we can reach out to those people and work together to try and make something happen. That was a lot of what I did back then, or like writing policy memos about that.
Okay.
And cool. It was a good time.
Nice.
I'd have a lot to. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, no, go ahead.
I was just saying it was cool because there's like something different every day. I wasn't just like burrowing down into one niche. And like, no offense to people who work in zoning, but like I wasn't pouring through a bunch of boring zoning laws to see whether or not something could or couldn't happen. It was a lot more dynamic than that.
Yeah, that definitely sounds more exciting. Not doing the same thing every day.
Absolutely. It would be fun.
Yeah. So next up, what is your favorite memory at Michigan?
That's a great question. And I think I'd have to go with college game day. A couple of years ago, Cam and I were we decided that it would be a fun thing to try and get on College game day when it was in Ann Arbor for the night game against Wisconsin. This would have been 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, we get up, not even at the ass crack of dawn. The sun hadn't come up yet, but we get up. We're, you know, cold, tired. Somehow we managed to meet up with Zane and AJ. Um, and then somehow we managed to elbow our way to the front row where we spent our time just heckling everybody under the sun. It was fantastic. We'd yell at the DJ to play Mo Bamba. We'd yell at Desmond Howard to pull the Heisman pose. I actually got a Heisman pose chant going a couple times, which I was very proud of. And then when the Chainsmokers, who were the guest pickers, when they came out that day, we just booed them mercilessly. There's a YouTube video. And you can track this down. It's like Corso makes his picks week 7 of the 2018 season or whatever. And the Chainsmokers come out, and every time they open their mouths, you just hear just bow, bow from everyone behind them. Desmond Howard picks MSU to beat Notre Dame, and everyone's cheering because Des picked it. And then the Chainsmokers make the same exact pick, not having it. They get booed. It was really fun. That's a really fun memory of mine.
Yeah, it's funny. How close were you guys to the panel or Desmond and the guys?
So they blocked it off, obviously, but we were in the first or second row of people, enough that we got the Home Depot hard hats they passed around.
Nice.
I still have mine, which is fun. But I would say I'm terrible with distances, but 20 feet, it was close. I could see the whites of their eyes, so to speak.
That's pretty cool. And do you watch it later? Do you see yourself a lot on TV?
Yeah, I told my parents to record it so they could see me, and they caught me a couple times. There was a great photo of Max Smith on the broadcast. He wasn't as far up as we were, but in one of those crane shots, they had a photo of Max Smith beaming his face off, and he's holding up a sign that says, "Dad, please come home." Oh man, we didn't make a sign, but we should have.
That's funny. All right. So what the next up was your favorite Michigan place to eat?
Favorite Michigan place to eat? Well, this year I lived 2 blocks away from Hopcat, so I want to say Hopcat. I don't know if anyone else has said that before on the show.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Hopcat, fantastic, great fries. Every now and again I'd be feeling down because I hadn't left my apartment in forever because, active pandemic or whatever. And I'd say to myself, you know what? I could really go for a Hopcat burger and fries. So that was my internal monologue a couple times a week. I also want to say, because neither Cam nor Sahil mentioned this when you interviewed them, Tio's Mexican Cafe, the classic haunt for the three of us back in the day. We'd go to Sahil's apartment, we'd play some Stratomatic baseball with the 2012 teams too, not even modern day Stratomatic. 2012 was the cheapest or one of the few sets available. So that's what we do, and then do that for a couple hours, maybe play some Mario baseball, and then we just sort of look around and be like, "Hey, Tio's, go down, walk 1 block away, get some pretty good tacos and unlimited chips." That was the big draw. You didn't even have to order anything else. You just order chips and they'd give you free refills.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course, obviously all the other places BTB, Poncheros, all the classics, but those two really stand out for me.
Right. Yeah, I've only been to Tito's once after that one draft when Cam's brother came to town, but I should have gotten more. That salsa's pretty good.
Yeah, no, they were closed, and I mean they were takeout only, which kind of ruins the purpose of unlimited chips. But hopefully now that restrictions are loosening up, things are getting a lot better. I can go back to Tio's and keep my unlimited chips.
Yeah, and very good. First choice of Hopka. I love that place. Didn't they? Did
Yeah.
they name their fries like from crack fries or something else?
Yeah, they called them crack fries forever, but now they're cosmic fries.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
nice.
they're still as addictive as crack, though. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Love that place.
All right. Well, that was all the questions I had. Anything else you wanted to say?
Um, I don't know. This was a really fun time. So thanks for hosting this. Of
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
course, it was my pleasure.
All right. And thanks to y'all for listening. Next week, we're going to have Zane on. So stay tuned.